There we go.
There we go.
Hey, and we're
Hey
live.
everyone. We are Nerd Herd Live, and we are back for our second episode of 2023. And
Woo.
we're just going to jump right into it. A little bit of a disclaimer tonight. Robert and I have been hardcore Orange Theory for the last 2 weeks. And then I went to Disney with Jen on top of that. So
Yes.
some of us are very, very tired.
Just a little bit.
Anyways, on that note, let's start off with intros. Matt, I will throw it to you.
I am Matt Rodriguez. I am the chief editor of Shakefire.net. Robert?
Robert Prentice, managing editor of 3F by Space. Jen?
Jen Steele, senior writer at fanbolt.com. And Emma.
I'm Fanbolt.
Hi, Fanbolt.
I'm Emma,
Hi, Fanbolt.
editor at fanbolt.com. And we will jump right into it with a little bit of some curated entertainment news that came across our feed the last couple of days that we thought you guys might find interesting. So, Robert, you want to kick it off?
Sure. So January, also known as the desert of entertainment news and movies in general. Not a lot to talk
or
about.
graveyard, depending
Or graveyard,
on who
yeah.
you ask.
Exactly. So the only real news I have today is on the TV side of things. So for those of you that have been waiting to hear about the Percy Jackson series coming out on Disney Plus, they've revealed some more casting news today with personally some of my favorite selections that they've done outside of the main cast. So we now know who Zeus and Poseidon are going to be. So Lance Reddick will be playing Zeus, and Toby Stevens will be playing Poseidon. So Emma, are you able to share a photo real quick?
It depends on the format you upload that to, because that is a StreamYard question.
Let's see. I think I could share a screen just so I can show everybody. Yeah,
That's probably the easiest way to do it.
Or you can make a PowerPoint presentation.
Just let me know when my screen shares.
There you go.
Hey, there it is.
Hey.
All right, so here we go. Here is our Zeus and our Poseidon. And so for those of you that are familiar with the young actor playing the lead character of Percy Jackson, who was recently in several series, including one with Ryan Reynolds on Netflix. This is an interesting set of casting, I think, for Poseidon. It's a very good pairing there, and I just love the idea of Lance as Zeus. He tends to be very underrated in so many different series that he's in, and it's just really great to see him in a lead role that's going to be very, very interesting based on Zeus's role in the first couple of books. So
he was the best thing about the new Resident Evil series. I know that got a lot of flack, but Lance Reddick was great in it.
Yeah.
It's like I'm only familiar with the how many movies did they do? Like 2?
They did 2. Yes.
They did 2. So I'm only familiar with those movies for Percy and Jackson. Like I know nothing about the novels or anything like that. So it'll be interesting to see.
It will be, and they deviated from the source material a lot, which big surprise, right? When it comes to book adaptations to TV or film, and the casting, Logan Lerman was great as Percy Jackson in the films, but was not accurate to the original depiction or age of Percy in the books. So what you're seeing here is far more accurate to the source material, and the writer is heavily involved in the series as well in the casting. So that's a huge benefit.
Nice.
Good times.
All right. So that's my pick today.
I mean, I think speaking of gods and, all that stuff, I figure we should also go and has anybody else seen the new trailer for Shazam, Fury of the Gods that just came out today?
I did. Yes.
And so that one hits close to home for all of us because that one was filmed here in Georgia.
And if I'm not mistaken,
you could already.
I
and our
saw
friend Carrie's Castleberry Laws.
Yeah,
I saw the street scene in the trailer that I believe was outside of Castleberry Hills there. So
and possibly even their rooftops because I know that was used.
That was.
and Carrie we'll have to get Carrie on again so she can explain, probably closer to Shazam's release date in March.
Yes.
But they just released a new trailer for that, and that is looking big. It's got dragons and stuff. So check that out.
Remember when we visited Carrie during the filming of that, and there was a plant store that was set up on the street, and I got so excited because I thought it was real.
Plant store, but no, it was just a make believe.
It was just a film set.
No.
So, anyways, there was also some big news that happened within the last week. I actually don't. All the days are running together now. But the Oscar nominations came out at some point in the last handful of days.
I think they were probably at Disney at the time.
Yeah. There weren't really
early Tuesday morning is when the Oscar nominations came out.
Yep.
Super early. Were there any big surprises for you guys, or is it? I mean, there wasn't really.
I mean, I think the biggest surprise is for Best Actress with Andrea Riseborough for To Leslie. I know she hadn't really gotten a bunch of buzz as far as critics and stuff. Like, she wasn't nominated or anything, but there was a huge push from other actors and actresses. Like, they had like a social media campaign, I guess, where they were praising her performance and everything like that. And I guess it worked because she got a nomination. And honestly, I don't think anybody expected her to get nominated.
Did you see Leslie?
I have not.
I have not either.
I have not seen it.
No.
Like it was never sent, I don't believe, as part of any of our, like for your consideration stuff. So like there wasn't a big studio push for this. It was mostly just, other actors and actresses and a social media campaign that did it all. So good for her. I haven't seen the movie, so I can't say anything about her performance in it. So
it's going to be a tough category.
It will be.
I don't know. I think it's going to be, so for Best Actress, we have Cate Blanchett for Tar, Ana de Armas for Blonde, Andrea Riseborough for To Leslie, Michelle Williams for The Fabelmans, and Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. And honestly, I think it's going to be between Cate Blanchett and Michelle Yeoh, I think.
I would agree with that.
I want to see Michelle Yeoh take it personally.
Yeah.
I for me, I would say the one that shocked me was the Best Picture category a little bit, because I know it's a broad category and they had to fit 10 films in there, but Avatar felt forced.
I actually don't think they have to fit 10 films.
Isn't it only 9?
I think it's a max of 10. But they have to
10.
Oh no, it's 10.
But they have to receive like a certain level.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not so there can be less than 10.
Okay. I mean, it's still, I just felt that one felt weird.
Avatar felt weird. I'm surprised Triangle of Sadness made a biggest splash as big as splash as it did, because Ruben Östlund is also nominated for Best Director for Triangle of Sadness.
Yeah.
Which was surprising.
It was a weird movie. Like
a weird movie.
It wasn't a bad movie, but
it's
Best Picture.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's often that we find ourselves at odds with the Oscars nominations and even the wins, for that matter. I'm going to be interested to see when we do our bingo cards this year how accurate we all are for these. Another one that is getting a lot of people feel that it was snubbed was After Sun not getting a Best Picture. I saw that one because it came in our group of screeners. I wasn't really big on that one.
I wasn't sold on it either. I know it's getting a lot of critical acclaim and everything, but I wasn't on the same page. Paul Mescal also, he got nominated for Best Actor for After Sun.
He did. Yep.
So
I think
the
the biggest shock for me is that somehow Top Gun Maverick did not get a cinematography.
Yeah.
That
That was
surprises me.
weird too.
That
Yeah.
was super weird. I mean, it got nominated in a number of other categories, so it's not
Including
like,
Best Picture.
yeah. I mean, I don't know how if it had been nominated, I would have said that is the one that's going to win cinematography.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. What is y'all's pick for cinematography out of these?
Let's see so we have All Quiet on the Western Front, Bardo, Fox Chronicle of a House, Handful of Truths, Elvis, Empire of Light, and Tar.
Tar?
I don't know.
None of them really stick out to me as,
I could see personally from I still haven't seen Empire of Light.
Mm-hmm.
Honest, I could see Elvis taking it just because I feel like there's a huge Elvis push lately.
Yeah,
I can see that.
So I wouldn't be surprised. Personally, honestly, one of the only things I liked about Bardo, I hated the movie, but the cinematography is absolutely beautiful for Bardo. I'm not a fan of the film itself, but honestly, that would be my best cinematography.
Okay.
All right. Well, we will see on March something.
Sometime around the 13th.
It is March the 12th.
12th.
March the 12th. All right. Well, we will see on March the 12th then. We'll do predictions ahead of then, and then we'll see how well those turn out for us.
How well we do.
Yeah.
How well we do.
Will we flunk or will we pass?
More
importantly, will I win money?
That is the important.
That is always the question.
That's my question. Because I have a rep to maintain.
Also had some other award nominations that came out on January 23rd, and those were for the 2023 Golden Raspberry Awards, better known as the Razzies. And I thought, why not talk about this? Because it's been in the news a fair amount lately because they nominated a 12-year-old. Again. And then now they've said that they're not going to do it again. They've apologized, and now they're introducing an age limit moving
They
forward.
knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah.
All they're doing is just to drum up publicity.
Yeah.
They knew exactly.
They didn't apologize for any of the ones in the past, so they don't care.
No.
Like
and I didn't see
what what was it?
Firestarter. It was
Firestarter, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, is it
Ryan Kira Armstrong?
Yeah, I mean, I saw Firestarter. It wasn't bad because of her.
Right. She was far from the she was far from the
awful
issue.
Script. It's like you could have put anybody in that.
Yeah.
Role.
No one would have
even like
that.
say like Leonardo DiCaprio. And it still would have been an awful movie. Or even Daniel Day-Lewis. Even he couldn't save that movie.
I would go watch that. That would be an interesting.
Well, one of the other kids that they nominated back in the day was Macaulay Culkin.
For what? For Home Alone?
I think so. Yeah.
Really?
I think it was for Home Alone. I bet it was for that. What was it? The Evil Son or something? That movie.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Or it's the evil kid. Yeah.
That's my bet. Hold on.
I'm trying to see if I can find it here.
You're probably right.
Let's see. It's somewhere around here because they've done it before.
He actually just called them out for his 1995 nominations. There's an article about this from an hour ago. It was for what was it for?
I mean, it's like it's the same reason why I don't even like worst of lists.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's like what's the point of talking down on a film and stuff? And it's like, yes, there are bad movies, and if you do a bad review, that's fine. That's but one be one and done. You know, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I didn't like this movie, whatever.
There's no value in the worst of list in any, real constructive way for discussing. I mean, it's one thing when you're talking about one specific film and saying, did you like it or didn't you and why? But to sit there and go, okay, let's look at the worst actors of 2022.
Yeah.
I mean, the Razzies gave Bruce Willis his own category. This is just how they operate, just so you know, right?
And then I think they retracted on that, though.
They did.
True,
But like, I think to your point, they know these things are going to cause controversy, and they're doing it to drum up.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
So just for a little bit of background information on it, it was started in 1981, and
the Razzies are older than me.
The statue itself is a golf ball sized raspberry atop a Super 8mm film reel, spray painted gold, with an estimated street value of $4.97. This is according to Wikipedia. So.
Well, can we give the raspberries a golden raspberry?
Yeah,
I think it deserves
so
it.
Here are the 3 kids that they
for the worst award
previously.
Show.
Boom. Gary Coleman for On the Right Track in 1982. Jake Lloyd for Star Wars: The Phantom Menace in 2000.
That's just mean.
That's mean.
In 1995, Macaulay Culkin was nominated for Worst Actor in not 1, not 2, but 3 films. Getting Even with Dad, The Page Master, and Richie Rich.
Oh, The Page Master.
I like The Page Master.
Yeah,
those were
The Page
fun.
Master.
Wasn't
I remember that movie.
animated or half animated?
It was half animated, yeah.
Okay.
And Richie Rich was adorable.
He gets transported into like an animated world.
That's right. That's right.
I like that movie. Granted, I haven't seen it since I was like 10.
Yeah.
We don't know if it holds up.
So we should have like an episode where like does it hold up? Where like we watched our childhood movies that we loved, and we're like, does this hold up?
I think the fact that when we start to do that, we realize that some of these movies are turning 40 years old is also going to be a heavy drinking episode. Just putting it out there. Putting it out there.
When I saw that the Razzies were 41, I had a brief moment where I was like, oh, that's old. And then I was like, oh, God. Just did the math on my own.
You're like,
hey, screw you too, Emma.
It's coming. All right. Well, on that note, let's move on. Matt had a really cool interview recently, so I will throw it to him to set that up.
Yeah. So earlier this month, I got to chat with Luke Tennie, and he plays Sean in the new Apple TV Plus series Shrinking. So this is new series from Bill Lawrence, who did Scrubs, which is my all-time favorite show. He also did Ted Lasso, which everybody practically knows now. And it stars Jason Segel as a therapist who basically is going through some drama of his own, and it kind of rubs off on his patients, and he decides to kind of go through an unconventional therapy methods with his patients to see what happens. And Sean is one of his patients. Harrison Ford also stars in it, and he is a delight. I've seen the first couple of episodes. The series premieres tomorrow, so you can start watching. You can watch the first 2 episodes beginning tomorrow on Apple TV Plus, and then I believe it's every week they release a new episode. But yeah, I got to talk to Luke, and we briefly chatted. So Emma, if you want to go ahead and play that interview.
I got it.
Hi, I'm Matt Rodriguez with Shakefire. How you doing, Luke?
I'm doing great. How about you, Matt?
I'm doing fantastic. So I've seen first few episodes of the series. I'm really loving it so far, loving your character. So tell me, how has it been getting to play someone like Sean, who has all these layers to him that we get to see revealed over multiple episodes? You know, there's a lot of dimensions to your character. So what has that been like getting to develop?
I mean, I still think it is, but it's challenging for me because usually I get the opportunity to play characters who have like maybe a different way of talking, maybe a different way of walking, maybe a different way of their mindset's like completely different and manifests itself in a visible way on camera. But Sean talks like me. He walks like me, moves like me, breathes like me. The only difference that we have is our personalities, our dispositions, and our mentalities. So that's what I had to hone in on because that's the only way I could actually articulate that character. And that wasn't something that I just decided. It was something that it had a lot of work going into it to make sure that this character would be perceived as real and not a caricature. So I just made sure that I honed in on his ideology, which is so long as Jimmy can fix it, I'm 100% in. And even if he doesn't believe he can, I see him working towards it. So I'm in.
Was there any one aspect of yourself that you grounded yourself into with Sean, that you brought in yourself and be like, okay, this is going to be me, that's a part of Sean?
Yeah, this one I haven't mentioned yet, and this is one that I think made it easier for me to connect with. I'm from South Florida. I grew up down there, and I played football, and I just learned how we all communicate down there. And there are some times where I slide into like an ethnic vernacular and speak. They call it AAVE now, but back when I was younger, it was Ebonics.
Yeah.
But and I'll switch between that and the professional vernacular pretty easily because of how I grew up. And Sean right now is the only character I've played who can like really do both like that. It's either been one or the other, but I felt like if I do that, why wouldn't this guy? And it's allowed me to kind of, when there are some areas that feel uncomfortable for me to say, maybe I'll say it in a different way. That's still me. That can make Sean still feel grounded.
There's a lot of dark humor in the series. I found, especially. Was that always part of the script? Was there room on set to improv? How did that come about?
It's both. The routine that kind of developed, and Bill Lawrence would be on set all the time facilitating this. But you do it how it's written, and then when you're done, you play. And it's not like it was a free-for-all. There was structure there, but man, sometimes it was tough just sitting in it's just like, yo, imagine you just trying to play a pickup game and then there's Michael Jordan, or imagine you just going for a drive and then there's Danica Patrick. It's like, yo, these people are just so good at this. At some point, it's like, how do I keep up? But then you start to realize, oh, it's not me in another car against Danica. Like, we in the same car, we on the same team. I'm on the same team as Michael Jordan. We're working to make this whole thing great. So they tend to elevate my performance where I feel like I'm lacking. So just hanging around people great, sometimes it rubs off a little bit, and that's nice.
Nice. And for my final question, one of the core aspects of the show deals with grieving, and there's a whole technique that they use where, you got 15 minutes, you put on a sad song, listen to it, you can be sad for 15 minutes and then be done. What song would be on your sad grieving playlist?
What a great question. Cavalier by James Vincent McMorrow.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody knows that dude, but he just kind of popped up on my Spotify a couple months ago, on my Apple Music a couple months ago, Apple. And he's such a good singer. And that song has less singing than I would anticipate for somebody who sings so well. And it moves me every time I hear it. What a wonderful question.
Oh, well, thank you so much for talking to me. It's been a pleasure. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Likewise. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
I'm unmuting
All right.
everybody. Look at me. Here we go.
There we go.
Hey.
Okay, we're all back.
I like
That was great, Matt.
Great
Thank you,
question.
thank you.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, that was a really good question.
It's always like super exciting when they're like, ooh, great question. It's like, yes,
like that
I
one.
did well.
Yes.
Something new that I haven't answered.
Yeah, no, it's and I feel like it's hard to ask those types of questions because they do get asked the same questions so frequently, but those are really good.
Yeah.
You killed it, man.
And
Well
I just now got the whole when he said Spotify and then Apple Music, he was like,
He
Apple.
did, yeah.
It's funny.
When he said Apple twice, I'm like, okay, I see what he's doing.
Yeah.
I missed that in the original interview.
I remember when Jen and I did the Rings of Power interview, and neither one of them had Amazon Prime, and I just remember being like,
Oh yeah.
They should have hooked you up with that. They should have hooked him up with all things Apple because he's on an Apple series.
You would think.
But yeah. I'm really looking forward to checking that one out, though. I mean, obviously,
it's a
Jason
really
Segel.
good series. Yeah, Jason Segel, he's great in it. It's Bill Lawrence. So like, if you've ever seen the show, it's like it really balances this whole humor with sadness. Like there are some really good lighthearted moments, but then he'll take you down a dark path sometimes.
Are they 30-minute episodes?
Yeah, I think so.
They all run together for you.
Why is all the good TV and movies about sad things?
This is true. We need like a really good comedy.
Well,
like a feel good.
Good place, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a second since we need like another Parks and Rec or Schitt's Creek or just something that makes us happy. But
when you find that, let us know.
Yeah.
I mean, somehow I don't think the documentary about the animal kingdom that I'm watching right now is exactly a sitcom, but it makes me happy.
Well, if it makes you happy, that's all that counts.
Yeah.
And speaking of happiness, I heard that The Son was just like such a happy movie.
Oh, that is one rough transition. Oof.
Yes, I thought my transition was more smooth, but then you're like, speaking of happy movies, let's talk about the
sad one.
I guess it's only Robert and I who have seen it, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I can intro it, or do you want to, Robert?
Go ahead.
So yeah, The Son. I don't remember if I actually talked about it previously. I may have mentioned it.
You did mention it.
Was it in the whole when we were watching why all Oscar movies are depressing?
Yeah,
I think I might have mentioned it there.
Yep.
So The Son is one of those. It's basically a prequel to 2020's The Father. I don't know how many people saw that one, but it was a big Oscar contender. Anthony Hopkins won Best Actor, and it was him basically portraying a father who is going through dementia and basically coming to terms with that, and him and his family navigating that whole scenario. The Son it stars Hugh Jackman, and he is Anthony Hopkins' son. And then he also has a son of his own, who is played by Zen McGrath, who is dealing with, he's a 17-year-old kid who is he's dealing with depression and anxiety and, all these things. He's having trouble in school, and he's basically trying to figure out like what's wrong and what's going on and how to solve it. And it's depressing. It's a depressing film about depression.
Yes.
Like,
and
that is the simplest.
Well,
yes, it's one of those films. It's like, those depressing films. It's like one of those films you really it's like, it feels wrong to say like I enjoyed it, I liked it. It feels wrong. Like it's a really solid film, I felt, and it does a good job depicting depression and anxiety and mental illness. Like, it was something I personally could connect to very easily. And the way it came about, that, like, it's just it felt very honest to me. Like, we have so many of these movies and portrayals of mental illnesses where, like, it always falls on the person.
Right.
And so like you see like, oh, it's this person's problem. It's this person's fault. This person is bad because of so-and-so. But this film, it felt more, it was able to separate the mental illness from the person. And so, yeah, it's a rough film to watch.
It is.
But I mean, it's.
I was telling Matt, this is one of those rare films where like Matt and I both agree. It's not rare that Matt and I agree on films. It's rare that Matt and I agree and are in the minority of people that like a film. And to Matt's point, I've dealt with this with family members who have had these type of issues, both recently and in the past. And so as sort of someone that's more in like Hugh Jackman's role in the family, as far as being not the person with the issue, but dealing with the person who has the issue, where a lot of the critics were really kind of going after it for feeling clunky or off or not very, dramatized, so to speak. That's where I actually think the film was far more true to reality, to Matt's point, right? Because it is awkward. It's weird. It's just, it feels very out of place, like it doesn't make sense, right? And sometimes that's just the reality of it. And how they went about watching the father and the parents deal with it, or not deal with it, frankly, was also really important to tell for that entire situation. Not just that the son was having issues and how he was trying to handle them, but how those around him were not handling it and what that ultimately led to. So from that perspective, I think it was an important story to tell and to see, for people to understand that our Hollywood idea of what dealing with mental illness is just not reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to go off what you said, like where it's like, what I really gravitated to was like some of like the first actions where it's like, you see Hugh Jackman, like his son skipped school for a whole month. He doesn't go, like the whole triggering event is that the son isn't going to school for a whole month. He's been skipping class and stuff. Like he faked letters. So both his parents had no idea that this was going on and stuff. And like the first thing that Hugh Jackman does is just ask him calmly, like, why? What's going on? Why? It's like he's not yelling at him. He's not, punishing him. He's just like, what's going on? Like it comes from such a place of understanding where like all the adults are just trying to understand this kid and trying to see what's going on and how they can help him. And at the same time, he's having difficulty trying to explain what's going on because he honestly doesn't know. And a lot of times that's what depression is, where it's like you can't really explain it. It's like something like you just know and you just feel, and it's like it doesn't have this perfect movie quote answer of what it is. And I felt like that's what the film captures so well.
And another aspect that was interesting of the film, especially for Zen's character, who was the son, most of his suffering happened off screen. So the film didn't focus on his suffering, what he was doing, how he was, trying to cope. That really all happened off screen. The attention was focused on how everybody around him was starting to realize what was going on. And I think that was another, I think, interesting aspect the director took that made this very different from other films that touch these topics.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I wish I had something to add, but I haven't seen it.
Well,
yeah.
It's definitely it's out in theaters as of Friday. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, it's definitely worth a look.
It's a it's a tough watch though. So like you
It
have
is.
to be in a good mind space
Yeah,
before you
and-
watch it. Otherwise, it can be very triggering.
Yes, very much so.
So
Now, is that in wide release or is it in more of the smaller
I
kind of
know
artistic theater?
it's definitely, I think, more of the small artsy theaters. It came out last Friday, in Atlanta. I'm not sure because like I had originally seen it back in, I think it was either November
It was November,
or
yeah.
October even.
And I just saw it last weekend.
For voting purposes. So it had like a small limited release, probably New York and LA back in probably December. And then, you know, it's slowly rolling out across the country now.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, movies are starting to slowly pick back up steam. We'll have our next episode, which I've not consulted with you guys at all about, but
It's
I've
going to be
assumed
Shyamalan.
it's going to be February 9th, and we'll be talking about Knock at the Cabin and Magic Mike.
I don't know if Robert and I will be seeing it by then.
Yeah, well, I mean, because we haven't gotten in, there's been no
We
invites
don't-
yet, so.
I know. I should see
We
if
don't
you
get
guys can come to the Galentine's event.
Oh
I'm
my
actually
God,
gonna,
that'd
you know
be
what?
wild.
I'm gonna ask because I still wanted to film like real time reactions from you guys, like after the film.
And then we can play him. We can play him here
Yeah.
for our Magic Mike
Exactly.
episode.
Can they come to the choreography event?
I don't know if I'm gonna go to that.
Oh my God, you guys both need to go do it.
And
I
And
don't
film
know
it.
if that's a good idea.
The footage is worth the visit.
We
I don't know if
need
there's gonna be
content for
footage.
Nerd Herd Live.
I don't want
Do it
myself
for the
doing
stream.
Sexy dances. Like I don't think that that's something that I'm signing up for.
Okay. Oh my God. I honestly, legitimately. So like I follow a bunch of casting things on Facebook because a lot of casting calls go out on Facebook and stuff. And there was one for Magic Mike people.
When
And
was it?
This was like this week.
Oh boy.
I
Oh,
bet it was
because-
for Valentine's Day.
And they were like, this is not for a film. This is for a different project. And I was like, this is for Galentine's Day.
Yeah, it is.
Valentine's.
Because they were looking for basically the Magic Mike type people
They did promise
for a
Jen and I
project.
They
Magic
promised
Mike
models.
type people.
And so
Yeah.
I am wondering, it's like, oh my God, is this for
That is
the event.
hilarious.
It's a good bet that it is.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like cocktails and food, and then Magic Mike dancers. So,
Mhm.
and then of course the movie too. But
And then
we'll
And
see.
A hunky cookie or something like that. What was
Funky
that?
cookie, something like that. I will take lots of video for us to share
Oh my
for
God.
next.
But
our
are we
next
going to the
one.
dance class?
Dear Diary.
to it.
But to bring us to our main event of the night, we wanted to chat about HBO's newest series, The Last of Us, which has aired 2 episodes now. And it is based on a video game, which Matt is very well versed in. So I'm going to let him intro everything since he's our resident expert in all
I
things
am.
The Last of Us.
And this is actually a Last of Us shirt.
Oh,
Nice.
God,
This is-
your theme for
this is-
tonight.
Very
This
on
is
brand.
the shirt that Ellie wears in the video game.
Okay.
Oh,
She may or may, I don't know if she will have it in the show or they'll reference it in the show, but it's in the video game at least. Yeah, I actually got this at E3 one year when they were debuting the original Last of Us game. They had a demo for it and they gave everybody a shirt afterwards.
How
Oh,
long
that's
ago was that?
I want to say that was like 2013.
Oh, like
Wow.
This one, the first
ago.
game. It came out on the PlayStation 3.
That's a decade ago. Just to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, bite your tongue.
But anyway, so The Last of Us, as Emma said, it's based off a video game, and it's essentially a post-apocalyptic world in which a fungus has taken over humanity and basically turned people into these monsters / zombies. and humanity has basically gone into these quarantined camps and struggled to survive dealing with this fungus. And the main story follows a man named Joel, who's played by Pedro Pascal in the series, who is dealing with just surviving any way that he can. And he meets up with a young girl named Ellie, who's played by Bella Ramsey, and he's given a mission basically to escort her to, I'm trying not to give away too many spoilers.
There's a lot of
There's a lot of spoilers. I'm sure we're gonna really get into it the first two episodes. But I'm trying to be careful too, since I know the game and how all the story goes, to make sure that what I'm saying is only covered in the first 2 episodes. It doesn't go anything beyond that. But yeah, so it's basically
read some things, so I know what's coming.
It's mostly about what sets it apart from like any other, like a lot of people compare it to like zombie apocalypse stuff, like Walking Dead or all that kind of stuff. What sets it apart mostly is the relationship between Joel and Ellie and their almost father-daughter dynamic and their hope for survival. And so I'll kind of leave it at that for now as the intro.
So 2 episodes in, I feel it's 1,000 times more entertaining than The Walking Dead has been for a long time. That may just be me, but zombies, I've always had a bit of a knock against zombies because when zombies and aliens were on TV at the same time and aliens got shoved aside so zombies could continue for 10 years, I'm still a little hurt about that. But this has been far more entertaining, and I think what makes it I'm coming from the aspect that I've not played the game, so I only know what we've seen in these 2 episodes. This idea of climate change and the world evolving to where this fungus, which by the way is a real fungus in the world today, that takes over ants and other creatures and zombifies them, can't survive in humans. So like that initial scene is like legit conversation they're having, and the idea that now it can be inside of humans was just it felt very unique, right? From stuff that we've seen in a while, which was really cool. And if you watch the after episode stuff, the 5-minute like behind the scenes, there's some really, really interesting Easter eggs, even if you haven't played the game, that you start to catch after you watch a second episode, and then if you go back and rewatch the first episode. And I won't spoil too much for those that haven't like watched the after episode stuff, but I will say pay attention to the flower.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too.
Yeah, and I'm not saying look at the flowers like Walking Dead, because we know where that went.
That was one of the most brutal episodes.
It was. I'm talking about flower as in food flower. So yeah, I'm excited for it. It's been really good. And the fact that Bella and Pedro are back together after both having been in Game of Thrones was really just kind of neat to see them both back together again too.
I really love this series. I think that granted, when we started Walking Dead back in the day, it was a new take on zombies and it was set in Atlanta. So we all, liked it considerably in the beginning. And then the quality kind of went up and down over the years. And I honestly think that series just went on past its time. Like it should have, it was a zombie itself.
I was going to say it was a zombie. It just kept going.
There's a joke here. I'm too tired to find it. But
are you sick? Are you infected? Are you turning into a zombie yourself?
It lumbered on. It's sombered. It just kept going.
Yeah. But this one, I think by far, the scariest take on zombies I've seen on screen. Yeah, these are kind of more is it War of the World zombie? What was the ones with the really fast zombies?
World War Z.
World War Z. Yeah. Those zombies creeped me out. And I felt like this take on it is kind of very much in line with that. This series has a strong foothold in reality. And whereas it may have seemed crazy to us, 5 years ago in a post-COVID world, we're like, oh, this doesn't seem that far-fetched, which is both makes the show more interesting and more terrifying from that perspective.
Yeah.
But I haven't played the games. Neither has Doug, and we both want to go out and buy a PlayStation and buy the game after watching the first 2 episodes.
I can loan it to you.
Are PlayStations available now?
I think they are. Yeah,
they are. Yeah,
at least the PS5. But I mean, like, even if you have like a PlayStation 3 or 4,
I have a 3.
Like they have it for PlayStation 3.
Okay,
that's how old the game is. The
how
original.
many games are there?
2.
There are two games. Yeah,
okay.
And so from what I've heard, is the whole first season is the entire first game, and I imagine the show hasn't been renewed yet. I can't imagine them not renewing it.
They'll renew it.
So, and I believe the second season is going to cover the second game. So, and I mean, there's already been like some hints and stuff dropped and some Easter eggs. Like the movie they watch in the first episode is a reference to something that they make in the second game. But yeah, like going back about the whole zombies and the fungus is called cordyceps, which is a real fungus that affects ants, and it basically like takes control of them and makes them climb to like the highest point they can so that it can release its spores and spread. Yeah, it's really creepy stuff, and like it's weird. But like even the show, so like what I love about the show so much is that it is such a faithful adaptation of the video game. And I feel like that's where Hollywood has struggled with so much, is that they try to recreate, because there aren't too many great or good adaptations of video games out there. Like, everybody talks about the whole video game curse, where it's like, oh, if a movie or something is coming out on a video game, it's not going to be good. And most of the times it isn't, because they take the game and they change it so much to where it's barely unrecognizable for the game.
Mm-hmm.
But with The Last of Us, it is the most faithful adaptation I've seen, where like some of the lines are exactly the same, and the changes that they do make sense. A lot of it is just expanding on things. So like we get a lot more time with Sarah, who is Joel's daughter in the first episode. We get a lot more time spent with her and seeing her do these things. Like seeing her go to the clock shop to fix the watch and all that stuff. Like, yeah, in the game, we basically see her give the watch to him, and we get to hear about all this stuff, the same stuff, but like, seeing her be able to do that, it creates a bigger connection with her. Or the zombies themselves. One of the best changes I think they did was having the fact that you see the fungus come out of their mouths and like latch on, like little strands of fungi like latch on to people, and like that's their bite, and so that's how you get infected. That wasn't part of the game at all.
Well,
like they would bite you like regular.
Though, in the show,
they would bite you like regular zombies. You get infected, and then also they would release spores. So they'd be like the real cordyceps, and they would release spores, and you could get infected by that. So like in the game, you're going through all these really spore infected areas. So you'd have to wear gas masks and stuff because you couldn't breathe in the oxygen. So that was one of the changes that made the show much more terrifying, is seeing them like, bite you and have that it's just so creepy, and the way they do it is just like, oh, and like the fact that there's like a hive mind to them, that they're all connected. So like you make a movement in one place and you can attract zombies from all over because they're all connected through this fungal network. It makes it so much more terrifying.
Yeah.
And I think even like the game's creators have been like, ooh, I wish we would have implemented
about
that
that.
into the video game.
Wish we'd done that.
Yeah. So like it's just the decisions they've made, and like Neil Druckmann is the co-creator of the game and writer on the game and stuff, and he's the writer in the series as well. So like, you know, it has both you know, from the game and the series, that connection. So I think that has definitely helped immensely with them.
And this series has been in the works for a fairly long time too. It was March of 2014 that Sony actually announced that Screen Gems is going to distribute a film adaptation of Last of Us, which would be written by Neil and produced by Sam Raimi. Then in 2015, Neil had written the script's second draft and performed a read-through with some actors. Very little work happened after this, and Neil actually stated in 2016 that the film had entered development hell. November 2016, Raimi said that it was at a standstill after Sony had a disagreement with Neil. And then in March 2020, development for what we see today on HBO was restarted. So it's been in the works for quite a while and had a number of different actors attached to it. It's actually said that actors that were considered or auditioned for the role of Joel before Pedro included Hugh Jackman, Michael Fassbender, John Bernthal, Gerard Butler, Josh Brolin, John Hamm, David Harbour, Keanu Reeves, Chris Hemsworth, Tom Hardy, and Joel Edgerton.
Good heaven.
Okay.
Some of those I could see.
There were a couple in there that I think would fit.
There were
I can see all
definitely
that.
some that would not fit, though. Some that feel very weird.
Yeah.
But
Hopefully this is
gross.
hopefully this is a blueprint for future potential
I mean,
adaptations.
you think, because like it's so funny though, because like, so Naughty Dog, they're the developers behind the game and stuff. Like they like, even from the beginning, well, like they're the ones who did the Uncharted series. Like they've always been hailed as like the most cinematic of video game studios, where like their video games are basically movies.
Yeah.
Like you could just watch their video games and it's like watching a movie, because that's how their storytelling is. So like they're perfect for adaptations, which is why I had so much faith and interest in the Uncharted film when it was like first announced.
I thought it was fun.
And but like, see, like they screwed so much with the formula and what made like the video game so good and stuff, and they just butchered it. And so like to see them recover and do this with The Last of Us is like, it definitely gives me faith and hope that like, okay, like hopefully moving forward, people will see, okay, this is what we need to do. This is how we can make good video game adaptations.
Well, and I think too that if we look at timing and subject matter, everything that's happened since 2020 has put the story, like it almost wrote itself.
Yeah.
Like the adaptation almost wrote itself in that respect. And to your point earlier about changing the idea of spores to, you know, in the series to being more focused on the tentacles and the fact that they're all interconnected. It's little things like that you know, you can easily visualize a spore cloud in a video game. It's much harder to make that work in a live action setup, and they found a smart way to do it and somehow make it feel more creepy than what was originally going on. So hopefully it is a blueprint that it doesn't matter how cinematic the studio is, a bad direction and writing room can still ruin it. And hopefully they can use this formula as a way to do some adaptations for other games in the future, because there are some really good ones out there that would be some really great adaptations. I mean, God of War is coming.
I was about to say they're doing Amazon Studios is doing God of War.
Yep.
They've only announced that they're doing it. They haven't said
when or
any actors
or
or
who
when or
or-
any of that kind of stuff. So
Christopher Judge better freaking come as Kratos.
I mean, he would be perfect as it. He's voicing Kratos.
perfect. Yep,
Yeah.
he's voicing him. He's got the build.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because they haven't appeared yet, but Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson, who play Joel and Ellie, who voiced Joel and Ellie in the video game, they are in this TV series. And I thought I heard, I don't know if this has been widely reported or not, but I believe that Ashley is playing Ellie's mom, actual Ellie's mom. So I think they're going to do like a flashback
Okay,
to
That's
show
interesting.
like
I like
beforehand.
that. That's awesome.
that's fun.
Yeah. So I don't know if Troy is playing her dad. Maybe that would be interesting. That would be funny to see.
Okay,
But because I think in one of the after the episode things they mentioned Ashley playing her mom.
okay,
So it's not like it's a spoiler or not, but yeah.
Right.
So like that's one of the things the cool things. So like these first two episodes, like the first episode, like Robert talked about, how it was a conversation between scientists, like on a talk show in the 60s, talking about the fungus and stuff and like how it's what it does and these world-ending events and everything, and like, oh yeah, like fungus isn't going to take over the world because they can't reproduce in humans and that kind of stuff and blah blah blah. And then the second episode is basically about the center of opens with like the first outbreak in Jakarta and stuff.
Mhm.
And so it's like we get these flashbacks that the game kind of just hinted at, like they drop little clues here and there about it, like, oh yeah, almost like Easter eggs where like they just mention it. But the show gives more depth to be able to go and like explore those ideas through these flashbacks and stuff. So I'm definitely interested to see how it expands on this universe and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, what would be your next favorite pick of a video game that you would want to see adapted? And that's a question for That's a question for everybody.
Ooh.
Okay. I'm not a horror movie fan, but one of the video games, and it's an older one that I love watching people play it. I'm too chicken to play it myself. Is Eternal Darkness.
Mm.
I would love to see a movie adaptation of that.
Okay.
I feel like that would be hard to capture.
It
Just
would
because
be, and that's why
because
I
of
want to see it.
how much it screws with the player
Yeah.
and stuff.
I've
That's
much
what makes
fun.
it so good.
I've got one that I know will never ever happen because it would be near impossible to adapt.
What's
What
yours,
you got?
Robert?
Final Fantasy VII.
I want to see it. I want to see it bad.
I mean,
I feel like they screwed us
honestly,
over with the last Final Fantasy movie.
Yeah.
honestly, I loved like Advent Children is still I love Advent Children, the movie.
It was good, but like 7, like if they were to adapt it, TV series, film.
Yeah, I guess it would have to be and that's the thing too, where it's like I feel like most video games would benefit more from being a TV series as opposed to a film.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because you have more time to explore the characters and the story and all that.
And the episodic format also kind of helps to fit some of the like chapter progress elements of gaming. So
Majority.
I would have answered Halo, but they made that series.
they did.
I heard that was pretty terrible.
Well, so I was super excited about it. I watched the first episode. I don't know if I
finished
don't
the
know if I was
first
awake
season.
at the end of it.
Mhm.
But I Googled it. And you know how there's always those like people also ask, which are just like frequently like searched for phrases to Google. It was, will there be a season 2 of Halo TV show? And the next one is, did Halo show flop? And not only did it not flop, it apparently was a hit on Paramount Plus and is the
Getting a
streamer's
second
second
season.
most watched original series, despite massive video game fan backlash.
Huh.
So supposedly it's coming back for season 2.
I will
We'll see,
I will,
like,
But
it
I
feels
will
like
s-
the same, or like, are people hate watching it?
right.
Well,
Well,
like that's the whole thing with going on with like
Yeah.
Velma right now with
Right.
HBO Max and Velma, where
Right.
like
Not
Velma
even
is getting
watching.
all the it's like up in popularity, and like it already got renewed for season 2 apparently, but like everybody hates it.
right.
Yeah.
So I watched all of Halo for the first season. And the first couple of episodes were really slow. But it got really interesting as it went on. I've played some of the games, but I don't know the lore and the story very well. So I would basically treat myself as like The Last of Us. I haven't really played the games. This was one example where I felt like it was a good standalone adaptation of a video game that didn't necessarily follow the source material, which I think was a little different than Uncharted, which not only didn't follow the source material, but was miscast. But it was from what I've been told, there were some significant changes to the Halo lore that upset the fan base for the game. So, but it was popular enough that they renewed it. So
they're bringing it back.
we'll see.
Yeah.
So what was your pick, Emma? Or you didn't pick one?
That's
Halo.
like what I would
Oh,
go.
really?
That's what
Yeah.
I would go to. I mean, the stuff
Halo.
I played. I mean,
Sim City, the show.
the TV show.
Listen,
Just reality TV.
no, that's just Ryan Reynolds playing that one thing where he played the NPC. What was
Oh, yeah.
the
Oh, yeah. Free guy.
Free Guy, SimCity. Boom. So you had that too. I mean, a live action Zelda would be.
I was saying, like, Majora's
I
Mask
could
would be
see that.
really interesting to me.
Yeah.
I feel like we need some more high fantasy stuff in general.
Yeah.
And more aliens.
I mean, the only other game I played a lot of Grand Theft Auto, but I wouldn't want to watch that movie.
Oh
So-
god.
No.
I mean, that was kind of like Free Guy too.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Free Guy was a little bit of everything.
Maybe we should do Spyro.
Oh my god, that would be.
Oh my god, I
I
remember
mean,
that.
maybe an animated series.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Spyro animated series.
Mhm.
I would watch that just
Yeah.
for nostalgia.
Yeah. Speaking of animated series going live action, Netflix is going to be doing an attempt at Avatar, not the Blue People, Avatar: The Last Airbender live action.
Yeah.
Not
Right.
not M. Night Shyamalan either. So be interesting to see if that one is closer to the source material or if they go.
Low bar.
It's a low bar. It's a very low bar.
I mean, I think weren't the series creators originally involved and then they left?
That's not good.
I think
That's a bad sign.
The movie or the series?
the series.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I know that they were not involved in the movie, which is part of the problem.
Yeah, they weren't involved. I remember like when it was first announced, like they were involved, and then they left over creative differences.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not good.
That's a bad sign.
Yeah.
Bad sign.
Yeah, so I mean,
Maybe.
I
It's
guess
still
we
nice.
see.
We'll see.
Well,
But-
on that note, I'm gonna wrap us up for the night. Not only have we finished talking about everything we're going to talk about, I really want to go to bed because I'm so exhausted from Orange Theory and Disney World, which is just a lot of activity. I have all the steps. All the steps. Well, thank you guys all for joining us tonight. I'm Emma Loggins, fanbolt.com, at Emma Loggins on all social media platforms except for TikTok, which I am not on. So that's me. Matt.
Feel better.
I'm Matt Rodriguez. On On Twitter, that's my handle. I'm Matt Rodriguez. On Instagram, I'm Matthew M. Rodriguez. And you can also follow us on @ShakeFire. Robert?
You can follow me at Robert W. Prentice on all the things, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or 3F by Space on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Jen?
And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Renlark, RENNLARK. And I promise I'll post more.
But she doesn't have to because I just tag her in all of my stuff. So
Yeah, I mean that's my entire Instagram is just Emma tagging me and stuff.
this is true. You can, if you're curious about any of the stuff Jen and I did in Disney, just a couple little fun behind the scene tips that I learned through what I affectionately call Jen my Disney mom because she knows literally everything you need to know about Disney and all of the secret menus and secret menu. You have to watch
to get into places.
How to get into places, where to get free water, all of the gems,
All the good stuff.
But I did a highlight on my
Jen's
Instagram.
Gems.
I should call it that.
Aww.
But I called it Disney. So, or WDW. It's on my highlights on Instagram if you want to go get some good Disney tips that I learned from Jen. So until next time, we will see you guys on February 9th with a Magic Mike and Knock at the Cabin review. And I'm sure a lot of other cool and fun stuff that pops up between now and then.
10+.
No, not that. That will not be.
Do it.
So we'll see you guys then. Thanks for joining, guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys.